We have a youthful person here who is a lawyer and a political commentator, Max Ogolla. Good morning, Max.
Good morning, Eric.
Umengara bwana.
Thank you so much.
Songea nini?
Thank you so much.
Hey,
Tusikie sauti.
karibu sana
The
bwana.
suit is very nice, very
The suit
dapper.
is suiting.
Thank you.
It suits you.
Thank you so much. It suits me. Yeah? I'm suited.
I would have known there was a memo for suits today.
Right?
Kuna Alhaji behind the camera there pia leo ametuvalia suti. Hey, he's straightening his tie. Hey.
A nice trip over there.
You look very
Watu
sharp.
wanaingia kwa chama.
Thank you so much.
So as we begin this conversation, Max, we'll start with the day's quote from Janet, and then we'll get into youth and their participation in political parties.
Yes. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, the former president of Liberia, once said, "Power without accountability is tyranny, even if it is elected." Yeah.
It's important to understand where Sirleaf was speaking from. I've read her book, This Child Will Be Great, and she's an amazing writer, and a technocrat, and a good politician. And she was writing at a time when Liberia was being saved from a series of tyrannies who had had Liberia. Charles Taylor, Samuel Doe, and the likes. So when power is not accounted for, or when there is no accountability in power, irrespective of how that power came to be, it turns into tyranny. Because there is a common quote that power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. So it requires that once you're given some mandate of power, there's some level of accountability that you owe to the people that give you that power. And in absence of that accountability, then you now turn from a leader or a person holding legitimate power to a tyrant.
Yeah.
So it's a fit quote in our situation in our country right now, because we have certain leaders that we think are really not being accountable to the power that we gave them. And so Sirleaf's quote comes closer home.
That book, sorry, I was just about to go a little bit into Sirleaf's book.
Yeah.
It's called
This Child Will Be Great. It's a very nice book.
This Child Will Be Great.
Yeah.
When you think of yourself using that statement, when was that moment that you're like, this child will be great?
First enough, my birthday is 25th December. So I think from the time I was born, I feel like God destined. God.
I can imagine Max walking to his birthday with a robe every time. It's like, listen.
So from the very beginning, perhaps, but also in conversation, I have friends and people appreciate their existence around my life because we really build each other. And there's a friend of mine called Ian Yenko. He's a young lawyer, a colleague. He keeps reminding me that statement every time I'm down. Says like, you remember we read Sirleaf's book? We are the child that Sirleaf is talking about. And if Sirleaf, with all the challenges that was in Liberia, she was working in World Bank and came back home and took power, the first female African president, in an African country, or a first female president in an African country, well put, then anything is possible. Anything is possible to he who believes. So yeah, at one point, I can't figure out one exact point where I say like, I knew this child would be great. I feel like it's something I live daily, praying daily that it comes to actualization.
I like that. Thank you for your honesty. You've also mentioned your friends, companionship, and that reminder, that, and we all need it occasionally. I think of that now on a national scale and how we do party politics. Are young people each other's brothers and sisters and keepers as far as politics is concerned? Or, are we doing more harm than good? And I'll use this as an example. As problematic as tribalism is, people pushed behind a person and they said, this is our person. With young people, though, as we try and get to a place where we're thinking about ideas, ideologies, about manifestos, it seems we're very quick to knock each other down. That's true. I don't know if it's anecdotal ama ni ukweli. What's your view?
That's really true, but we need to look at the youth in two spectrums, okay? First, most a man prefer to be led than to lead, whether youths or senior citizens. Most people prefer to be led than to lead because now power comes with a lot of responsibilities. So the youth spectrum also needs to be viewed in that light. There's the youth that prefers to follow. Then there's the youth that is trying so much to find spaces in these platforms of leadership to lead. Now, the youths that try to follow easily get swayed. One youth can come, have these ideologies for quite some time. Another youth shows up. That crowd is controlled by who is in the scene. But now, in this other aspect of youths that are trying to lead, there is a problem. The problem is that we are not taken seriously because of how we speak and how we present ourselves. You give youths platform to talk about youthful issues, and either they want to sound funny or use very big vocabularies that they don't know a meaning of, because that is what they feel is the system of leadership that they need to pull the masses. And because politics is a game of popularity, certain times intelligence is not a thing in the scene. It's how much can I have this population, or how much can I be popular in this population that requires to be led. So we find very weak youths in the national scene who are championing for leadership that are easily toppled. You are toppled because you don't have a firm ground, a firm standing that people can rally behind. So it's not a man-to-man society really for the youth. The spaces are slim. We are struggling to get into these spaces, but the few that are actually trying to lead are losing the key thing, the aspect of presenting yourself as a leader and speaking as a leader so that people can rally behind you. Now the popularity statements. So that's the problem really.
Hey, trying to be funny and what's that?
Use big words that you don't even understand.
Yeah.
Or that's a very interesting observation. So then is there an example of what youth-led, a proper or a good youth-led movement looks like? Can you draw an example either from Kenya or different parts of the world where you're like, this is what it could look like?
Pardon me, please, if I mention a few of my friends who are doing amazing stuff. There is something that went on over the weekend, a JKUAT alumni dinner, that was organized by the likes of Dada Orinda. There's a guy called Akach Dulo and so on. These are individuals in very minimal spaces, but they're doing amazing stuff. It's just that there's no focus on them. They're doing amazing stuff. But if you're talking about youth-led organizations and places where youths have thrived, in Africa, we have history with youths failing. And it's a very sad history. The failure of Congo can be rooted to the youthful president, the Lumumba during his time. He was youthful. He didn't understand how to make policies and how to get into relationships with external countries. If you look at Liberia, Doe came to power when he was a very young man. He was 27 years old. And he ended up being killed by the people because of how he handled the government. So we have history of youths failing. And so as a result, my political mentor, my good father, is Honorable Sampugisio. He told me that a political spectrum of leadership cannot exist when you leave it to the youth or the elderly alone, because you have to mix the experience of the old and the energy and the minds of the youth to have a thriving nation. So I can't give you one particular spectrum where youths have succeeded, because youths alone hardly succeed. We require the experience of the old so that we bring our knowledge, our intelligence, and our energy, we merge, then we succeed. So it's a collaborative space. It's not just for the youth alone. Even if I'm advocating a lot for youths to be included in these spaces, it requires an holistic collaboration for us to succeed.
There's something you've said about youthful leaders. They are good, but they're not able. They don't have the power to rally people behind them. Is it a lack of oratory skills? Is it a lack of convincing power? What is it that or is it the people who are to be led that have a different perspective of what a leader should look like? Leader lazima kuwe na pesa, kuwe na gari kubwa. So no matter how much and how well you speak, come on, you don't meet the threshold. Ngojea siku yako.
Or is it a discrepancy between what young people themselves and the people they're speaking to expect of leaders and who they're trying to reach? Because when he speaks of comedy and the use of big words, maybe you're thinking, that's how I reach these people. I become funny. They laugh on TikTok for an hour. Why can't we bond over something humorous? And then the electorate is looking at you like, oh no, you fellas.
And yet some people in that space made it to leadership. But I don't know, I feel like it's changing. Is it? Because you've raised a good point. We've seen comedy work.
Right.
But maybe to Max's point, is it time to rethink how young people are engaged? But to Latif's question.
Let me start with Latif's question on whether these youth are really not understanding the people that they're trying to lead, or whether they are coming into a spectrum that they don't understand. You see, Latif, there is some common quote that you can't actually lead if you can't take care of yourself. So it starts from you individually. How much do you tie to your leadership principles of your life? And then if you can take care of yourself, can you take care of another person? So the leadership spectrum itself does not really in the immediate sense, require resources or beakers and so on. And I'll use a lot of examples. I'll give an example with the Honorable Sampo Gisio himself. When Kachiliba was formed as a constituency, he was a small boy, but the community rallied behind him without money and made him the founding MP of that constituency, where he served for over 20 years. That time there was no money required. The Pokot community just required a representative who would advocate for them in the national space. But we cannot also be blind to the fact that politics is controlled by two things. One, popularity, and two, resources. And when you are a youth, you have not fully acquired either of this. The money that you require to run a political campaign, if you're going against someone who's been in a government agency, has worked for some time, you're running for the same MP, he has resources, you don't have resources. Most likely, even the people that follow you will get tired at some point and say, our wave is not as strong as the other waves. So our political scene is controlled by resources, and most youths have not acquired that. Another thing is popularity, but popularity without money, you know, the country we live in, it still narrows down to depression and things like that. So we are not thriving in this political spaces, not because the electorates do not want us. No, we are not thriving in these political spaces because the structure in how people thrive in these political spaces favor the experienced.
Can that structure not be disbanded?
Well, it can, and it comes to what Janet was saying. The aspect of, are we shifting mentally from the old system of politics to the new system of politics? And right now, if you are actually making comedy to an electorate, if they used to elect Babowino and the likes during that time, it's not working right now. We want to listen to policies. We want to listen to ideologies. We want to listen to a clear plan. How are you actually going to implement it? So I think politics is changing globally, nationally, and it's creating for us a good platform actually now to see youthful leaders coming to the front.
I want to ask, again, this combination of experience and freshness,
Yes.
experience with older people, and it's fought a lot. I'll say in the last year, ever since the protest last year, when we've been trying to find a way forward, you'll hear a lot of young people say we don't want anything to do necessarily with either those who've been in power or the old guard.
Yeah.
Where is that balance between saying, yes, we do need experience and we need freshness? Where is the space? Because sometimes it feels like those who are experienced can really muzzle the freshness.
That's true.
They're like,
That's true.
well, Kijana, you're not sure what you're doing. Leave it to me.
That's true.
Young people are saying, we have the agency, we know what we want. What's a middle ground so
Or
that it seems fair?
the other opposite of young people are saying, we don't want to hear you.
That's the other part.
Thanks
We
for
know.
We know. Thanks for all the knowledge, but no thanks.
Yeah. What's the middle ground there?
The middle ground might be hard to achieve, honestly, but let's look at it this way. I feel like when you unbud, then the right system or the right community gets attracted to you. And so for the youth, the only advice I can put out there for young of us who are really passionate about changing this nation and getting into leadership someday is let's unbud early. Let's unbud, let's be known for what we do in these small spaces that we have an opportunity to. If you have a platform like I have today to advocate about youthful policies, talk sense. So that way you unbud. And now the right community will get attracted to you. The right community means it's a community with the youth like you and with other senior people with the same reasoning like you. Because if you are a member of the Wiper Democratic Party, for example, or any other party, let's use UDM, Wiper, in all equal measure, and you're fresh, and you walk into this system that has been created by people who you say are very experienced, you'll be muzzled in. But we should not look at changing this nation based on the parties that currently exist or the popularity of the political parties that exist. There are platforms like the UGM party that was started by Honorable Agustino Neto Yugi, the only party that has a policy beyond politics. They are keen towards making a green environment beyond just, ferrying someone to an office. So if you're interested on things environment personally, and you're also interested in walking into politics to make change in that space, there are such spaces. But the key thing is unbad. Keep doing what you're doing, you don't know who's watching. And one day maybe the right sequence will get attracted to you. That way is how you create the middle ground. It's not something that you can just do as a switch.
Time, patience,
and consistency.
Consistency. All of that while we won't change immediately, whether it's chanting one term, whether it's how to reconcile those two?
Well, there's immediate changes we can make right now. Like if the nation was rallying behind exiting President William Ruto, it can be done. Those are immediate changes that can be done as early as this election that we are going to in 2027. But there's a long-term creation of a pipeline of youth leadership, and that requires, as you have said, time, patience, and consistency. It can't occur overnight.
Okay.
Yeah.
When you think of what would I call it? Rhetoric versus work.
Yeah.
What are the biggest gaps? Because the rhetoric is we want change. Whether it's 1 term, 2 term, or whatever, or we want young people in leadership, we want accountability in governance, all of that, versus the work that needs to be done. What's the gap there? Is the work being done?
Actually, yeah, I feel like the work perhaps is even being done beyond the rhetorics.
Okay.
For youths to come out boldly and say we want this nation to change and we want a hand in it, it means in their own individual small spaces they are doing some work. But in the in the national spectrum, when these political leaders chant these particular rhetorics, it does not trickle down to the ground. So these rhetorics actually exist with the people in power more than with the youth. I'll tell you a lot of youths who have started their own startups, who are doing a lot of stuff, who can help if they had an opportunity, to walk into government. So the rhetorics exist, yes, but the rhetorics is from a very different camp than the youthful camp. In the youthful camp, we are working.
Yeah.
We are working so much because we know we are young, we are strong right now, we have strength. This is the time we can do the things we are doing.
Okay.
So,
how do we mainstream then the rhetoric of the youth? Because it deserves to also be heard. You know, unfortunately with politics, if you don't hear it, you don't see it, it isn't happening.
That's true. That's true. So then perhaps we call ourselves out actively to focus on the youth and not in national politics. I run a YouTube show that commentates on politics. And one time I was working out to look for subscribers because that's how you start small. Yeah. So I was going out there looking for subscribers. It's called the Civic Lens KE. That I really appreciate if all of you subscribed when I'm here. So I was working to subscribe, and these youthful students at the university told me, if you turned your focus from the national leaders and politicians and you narrow it to what is going on in the ground, we like it more. So one time I did an episode on the Mbeere North by-election. I did not focus on any national leader. And it's one of the most successful episodes if you now watch the Civic Lens KE. So the people that mainstream these things to the national spectrum, we can now change our focus from these people who has bought airtime or creates airtime previously, and focus on bringing the youths to the limelight. Because as you have said, if we don't see it,
it didn't happen.
It didn't happen. Yeah. So maybe we call ourselves out actively as the people in media spaces to actually now start focusing on bringing the youths to the limelight to help hear their voices in the national space.
What practical steps can be taken to get young people to contest, not just mobilize, ahead of elections in 2027?
And I think this is the election where most of them are going to contest. If we walk the memory lane around 2 elections, there's a time that the musician came into power as a member of parliament, one musician in this country, a young man, came into power. And youths felt like everyone now can actually come into power. If you live in Karen and you watched Papa Shirandula sometimes back, you wouldn't have expected that Jalang would be your MP. And right now, he's the MP of Langata. Everyone who lives in Karen, that's your MP. Yeah. So I feel like 2027 we are going to have an influx of the youths in these positions, and it's happening because we have seen this series of young people get into power. So onto practical steps that can actually be taken is youths needs to join political parties. Yeah, have a voice within those political parties and join a party that will not let you down when you go to the ground, because you can go to the ground with a party we've seen in Mbeere North, then the party distances itself from you. So youth should get into political parties that will support them and dare the ground come 2027. Myself, I will not dare in 2027, but maybe in the subsequent election, I'll front myself as an MP from my area. So let's dare. When you dare there now, you might not get in your first try, but your people will know you. And maybe if you dare again, it will be your chance. So the practical steps is let's go out and dare come 2027.
Just had a quick look at Civic Lens KE. Your last episode, or not actually, no, 2 days ago, Mbeere North by-election, the ward battle that could shock everyone. It has around 5,000 views.
Yes, yes.
So good engagement.
Thank you.
But it got me thinking, it's very good engagement.
Thank you.
It got me thinking how we mainstream national elections. We don't think about counties as
Yes,
much.
and,
We don't think about
wards.
constituencies, let alone wards. This is,
Of course,
you're
of
talking
course,
about a by-election
In a constituency.
in a constituency that could shock everyone.
The ward will determine, one ward called Evurori in that constituency will determine the entire election. So I'm focusing on that ward.
It's a great way to do it, and it shows exactly how our elective system works, our governance system works. But mainstreaming is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
For a lot of people, who is your area MCA?
Yeah.
Crickets.
No.
Crickets. Absolute crickets.
Yeah.
Let alone how will my ward play a part in
the constituency.
in a constituency,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
In the bigger structure of governance.
Yeah.
So how do we mainstream that such that people are as invested in ward politics as they are in national politics?
You know, like, let me start by telling you something happened yesterday. Yesterday we were in church. We had a Justice Sunday. So lawyers were in church, SK Hadi Karen. And we were sensitizing the people on the laws, the structure of laws. And this guy, a former ambassador, stood up and taught us that one thing that you have downplayed in your representation is the space of customary marriages or customary laws in our laws. Yet all of us seated here are product of customary marriages. You know, it was starts with talking to the other person, then coming, then you register. Yeah? And so we downplay where we come from.
Yes.
That once you get to this place and become successful, you really don't have much touch with home. And that is where we go wrong. If people can be told that everything begins with your root, and it's for identity, it's not for tribal affiliation or anything, and we'd teach our children and we'd teach our brothers that everything begins at home, then even mainstreaming ward politics into the national spectrum will be so easy. We won't even need media houses to do that. People who have TikToks will not now be focusing on Nairobi. They'll be focusing on the content from the village. So we need to actually make the village a beautiful space within our conversations. I think we should even change the word mashinani to actually home, so that when we're talking about the village, there's an aura of longing to where you come from and not a instant thought of distancing yourself when you hear the village being mentioned. It's a shift in mentality that we really need to actually advocate nationally.
That's your base.
Yeah, that's your base. That's your nerve center. That's where you come from.
Yeah. It's well said. It's well captured because it's a thought process. I was just thinking, we have a legal quota for women in political parties, don't we?
Oh,
Do
yeah.
we?
Yep.
A legal quota.
I'm wondering whether we should have one for young people.
It should be.
That it's a legal quota that we need. Because how else? The barriers are many for a young person who wants to be in a political party. There's the old guard, there's the old way of thinking. So even if you want to disrupt it, and then there's no guarantee. They might say, Tumetosha, thank you, we're good in terms of even vying. I'm just putting it out there. It could be something to consider that there's that makes it necessary, almost legal, that youth people, the youth organ, that if it's a stretch.
No, it's not a stretch. It's actually a good argument. But I wonder whether legislation would be what works. Because I wanted to bring in that question and ask if in all political parties we know that the people who are very, very active in our parties are women and youth. The best mobilizers, women and youth. You're organizing a party, you want to organize a rally, you'll call women and call youth, and you tell them, please mobilize for me, and they'll come. Those two factions, the youth wing and the women's league, they usually wing and league. How should people disrupt these things such that the majority actually run the party and not the minority running the party? Do we need laws or do we need just wokeness?
I think we need wokeness than we need laws, because with political parties, really, the democracy is not adhered to like an ordinary law system. Within the political party, the leader of that party can wake up and nominate in a region, even if without carrying election democratically. So the political Parties Act creates the political parties in a very unique way, that democracy is not the primary cardinal principle. So what we need is wokeness, because now if we are woke within this platform, then as we started by saying, most people prefer to be led than to lead. Within these particular spaces, we'll have a lot of people requiring now to lead. So we need to break down the myth that for you to come to these senior positions within your own political party, you must have acquired this particular political muscle over some time. Experience is key, but if you show that you can do the job, then go for those particular positions within your political parties. So what we require is wokeness. People to know that they are not just members of political parties, but they also have an opportunity of rising from members of political parties to leaders within those particular political parties.
How should that happen?
The political parties need to create that platform. Are you a member of any political party, Eric?
No.
Yeah, so members of political party would tell us how the systems are created. They are neither am I of any political party right now, and also because of what I'm doing, I'm required to be really impartial when I'm dealing with political parties. Yeah, but within the political party system, those who are members of those parties, you need to create a structure for leadership that is not based on experience. So you will be like, we are going for Secretary General, we are doing an election and we need a member who has been in the party for 5 years or what, yet the person that has mobilized the highest support for your party is a youth with 1 year experience. Yeah, so the systems needs to be created within the political parties.
But, you know, people who are heavily invested in a party are those that are in those leadership positions, okay? We were just speaking to the national deputy chairman of the People's Liberation Party, and he told us he's been in that party for a while. He's not just joined the party, he's been in it for a while, since his late 20s or early 30s, and now he's in his mid to late 30s, he's been a member of this political party. Okay? So those who are invested take time, and then they grow within the ranks of the party. The question is, do people actually intentionally join political parties? I mean, do we have a vast majority of people who intentionally join a political party, other than just small elite? Because you see, someone like, in future, you'll find Kabala will become, you know, will rise in a political party, will become a party leader, then will be saying, you know, he'll become the mzee, the people will be pushing out and thinking that he's just a token guy who's running the party, he's the owner of the party. But this guy has, you know, developed himself and risen through the party. Do people join parties willingly? You're not because, you know, you're good excuses because you're doing, you're doing content.
Serious content.
My excuse would be the same, right? That I want to be impartial. I want to judge everybody the same, right? But the many others, why aren't they members of political parties? Why do people go and say, akiangalia register ameniweka kwa hii chama gani? When did I join this party? I only support so and so.
So if you do support someone, why didn't you join that other one? Yeah.
What do you miss doing their party 20-year celebration on 9th to 12th? Coming here, I saw they had a big billboard on the road inviting members to go to Mombasa. I feel people join these big political parties intentionally. If your political party has acquired some strength over a period of time, then people will join intentionally. I feel like there are members of the ODM party who just join intentionally without even requiring to rise up the ranks. Same is with the Jubilee, UDA, and so on. There are also people who join political parties because it's new. When DCP came and they had an office in Seattle, now people who are abroad wanted to join the DCP party because it was closer to home and it's new. So people join political parties for different reasons. There are those who join it to use it as a vehicle to win one election, then shift into another election. But for longevity of these political parties, I agree with you, Latif, that it requires someone to invest, stay there for a period of time and rise up high the rank. However, I feel like we need to change our shift of that mentality. I'll give you an example with what's going on in DAP Kenya right now. It's been a party that has been led by Eugene for quite some time. And now the Tawe movement on the ground makes Natembeya feels like he has all the muscles to lead that party. He might be a newbie in terms of leadership ranks of that party, but he has the support that now calls upon the party to decide who becomes the party leader. And when it comes to leadership, whether in political parties or in life, if perhaps our brothers from the Christian world will tell you that God chose people when they were actually very young. David when he was young, Samuel when he was young. Most of these things do not require that you be invested for some time, learn the evils of the party to lead the party. It requires when you are so fresh that you have not learned the evil of that party to actually lead the party. Yeah. So I feel like it's something that can be done. It can be done. It doesn't require the investment or the experience. And this is among the shift of mentalities that I'm talking about. This traditional way of thinking in political parties does not have a space in the Gen Z generation. And we have to start looking at political parties as vehicles that accommodate the new, fresh minds.
Right. Let me put it in a way Eric would.
Yeah.
Looking for representation in political parties, looking for representation at national leadership, even as it stands.
Yeah.
It's asking for a seat at the table. But then you look at our population, average age of 19, 70% youth.
Yeah.
Who needs, it should be other demographics asking for representation at a table of young people.
Of the youths.
Right?
That's true. That's true.
So then, are we really being radical enough in our approaches to this? It's giving handout, begging, bowl. Oh, please, can I come sit at your table? When it should be, what can you do to come sit at my table to be deserving? We need to flip that script.
We do. And when Inject came, I thought they were going to register it. I was so happy with the introduction of the Inject party because I was feeling now this is a platform where the oldies, as you say, will come and beg for opportunities and not the young going to beg for opportunities. But there was also a clear thing. The systems of registering political parties has been created to be so tight for entry of new parties and mostly youthful parties. And so that's what Senior Pareno Solonka was talking about when it came to registering Inject. They said the system has created very tight systems for registration of political parties. I'm not aware of what goes on in the actual registration, but the mood in the country is that it's very hard for young people to actually register political parties. However, at this point, I feel like going by the reasoning that you have given, which really makes sense, because the demographic shows that the youth are the substance when it comes to population, we really need to have a political party of the youth. And now slot positions for the old elites that we require.
The majority of the parties,
Then now we slot positions for these oldies to come and give us experience, because we also require that. We require the experience of the elderly.
We have a quota for people over 35. It's like we can have two people. Honestly,
elders.
That's what would be representative of our population.
Makes sense.
I think when you say like there's the entry into like to register as a political parties, there's a few barriers to entry. I think most of them come with financial muscle, because it's like you must have a presence in over half the counties. That requires financial muscle. The fix then is how do we find a way to fund these parties internally and figure out, how can Inject get a presence in over 23 counties.
It goes back to what we started with when we say that most people prefer to be led than to lead. And also, because that is the highest population, they can leave you hanging. You remember when Inject started asking for now actual funding from the people to help them actualize stuff? It got turned around. So really the population that we are doing all this for...
was it the party asking or was it Morara? Let's also be clear.
Okay.
You see, we start asking this question.
I know. Start asking those questions in that line. So the funding aspect is key. It requires that for you to have all those entry into the counties, you have to have resources. And I started saying that is the only reason why most of us are not in politics, because of resources and popularity. These two is what we really lack. If we could have an heavenly hand of funding to land upon us with enough resources and to put our popularity out there, most of these people in government, up to the positions of governors, would really find it hard to go against us in the counties. Very, very hard.
Of a slightly different view.
Okay.
Not contrarian per se. I don't think youth need to register a new political party. Okay? I'll give you an example. Uhuru Kenyatta joined KANU. Uhuru Kenyatta rose to be the national chairman of KANU. Then there were internal differences within the leadership of KANU. Uhuru left KANU and went and joined another party, which had been registered. It was running. It had Sakaja as chairman and Oloa secretary general. It was called TNA. Right? He joined this party. With that party, he became president. TNA was a party that existed. It did not need to be registered. Parties are, URP was a different party along some time. UDA was a different party. Jubilee was a party that had been registered. It was taken. If the majority of the population in this country joined political parties, join KANU, go there and rebrand it. You can call it Inject. You can join PLP and go and take it over and then mold it to what you wanted to do. If registration is something, and you're already joining a party that has structures, it already has offices across the country. You can participate in those grassroots elections. Make sure that you are electing people who are, people who look and speak and walk like you.
Eric, unakumbuka Moi akituambia KANU itaishi miaka 100?
Yeah.
Do you see where I'm going with this?
PTSD.
It'll just be a new name, but if whoever has fresh thinking is not at the part of the process where you're forming a political party with ideologies and everything, you're just coming to add on to whatever is existing. Itakuwa tu yo, another KANU.
Or you go there and say you tried.
You go in there
ODM,
and you disrupt the party. You see, take leadership of one political party and it has fresh leaders, those fresh leaders will come up with, this party has never had an ideology that is written, that people can actually, let's write an ideology. This is what this party represents. This party is known for this and the other. Let us remove the old skin, put in a new skin, give it a new name. You've basically taken over a new party and given it a new name. It happens. Companies are bought,
that's very
rebranded.
If only it were that simple.
What makes it hard?
I know he said dare. What makes it hard? I think the bottlenecks still come from just the erasure or the pushing back. If you're coming right, first of all, you go in there with fresh ideas. They'll be like, you're so cute.
Who has done it? And they've come and told us, I went there and I did it.
And they failed.
And they got a fresh idea. It starts from this, Janet, that the people that we are talking about, just like Max is saying, it's the people who want to be led. They don't want to take any role in this.
In leading.
And my challenge here is join the party. All right? You want a new political party. If you do not want to join a newly registered political party, call it whatever you want to call it, then it's the same way you'll not join KANU. The oldest registered political party in Kenya today, KANU. You cannot join KANU, the oldest party. You cannot join this new party, call it TSR whatever party.
Well,
this new party of Kenya.
Yeah. This new party of Kenya sounds amazing. It's actually this new party of Kenya. That's TNPK.
TNPK. Yeah.
Wow.
We always have to think of it from an acronym.
We have formed.
We have formed a party over here.
And then you do TNP-K. And then you make a flag up. Done.
I had not looked at it from Eric's point of view, which I have to admit is really insightful, of parties that have gone redundant. And now waking them up, rebranding them, and stemming up to the leadership positions as youths, and now creating quotas, as she says, for now the elderly members of the society to come into. I don't know what goes into rebranding a party. And when a party goes under, I don't know who now you get to contact to rebrand a party, but I feel like it's something that the youths can explore if there are bottlenecks in actual registration of parties. Yeah, something we can explore.
Yeah. Another thing that's come to mind, and we've had a conversation here before, is the seeming collapse of student unions, strong ones. Because we spoke to somebody, but I also think that that's a vehicle that was strong before and could have also birthed the ability of people to rise into leadership. Just trying to get your reactions or observations around student unions, student leadership, because they were very strong. I feel like there's been a collapse of sorts. And whether you think that also is cutting out a potential generation of leaders who've been doing it since university.
Amazing, amazing. You see, with student leadership, the problem is the continuity post being a student. That is where the problem comes in. You become a very impactful student, you rise to the leadership position, you graduate. Now you're jobless, now you don't have control over the university where you had a voice, and also you don't have control in the external world that you have walked into. So the whole vigor goes down. But we have seen organizations, student organizations that have created a link with their alumni to create a flowing chain. That now you come from the space of a student leader, then we welcome you into the student leaders alumni, and from there now you can bud into the national political scene. And JKUAT does that. The event I'm telling you happened at Stedmark on Saturday, was attended by Honorable Babu Owino, and it was exclusively for the alumni of JKUAT who are previously in student leadership. So student leadership can still play a very key role in making youthful leaders, but we have to mainstream how these youthful leaders come into the society, not post-graduation, we are done, we don't know how to.
How do they transition?
Can I challenge you there? I don't think that the problem is that the transition is not happening. I think the problem is that student leadership and student politics is mirroring the way we do national politics too much, such that it's still not issue-based, it's money-based, it's who do you know based, it's tribe-based, it's whether you do it as a council, a delegate system, or direct voting, either way, it mirrors national politics. And then, you can tell now the quality of leaders that we'll get at student level will be more or less the same quality that we'll get at national.
I appreciate the contention. However, I don't agree that there is a problem with politics, because you see, for governance to exist, we have to have these two independents. We have to have politics, then leadership in a democratic setup. So politics is a prequel to leadership. You have to play politics, and it has no rules.
Lakini ini siasa mbaya. Si siasa mbaya. Yani issue ni, we're still at student level, people are still galvanizing on basis of tribe. In the year of our Lord 2025, still saying, where do you come from? Or money, same thing. How much do you have? How much do you have? Who is able to do this and that? Who is able to make the biggest, most grand promises? Who is able to give a comrade something for lunch for the next week, hoping that they get a vote in return? Siasa mbaya, si siasa.
Okay. Well, I'll still just say that politics is a prequel to leadership, and politics has no rules. Sometimes it gets played very dirtily. But leadership now is where you put on the spot to bring your best qualities for the period post-politics. And that's why we have a country with politicians and very little leaders. So they play politics into leadership. But politics needs to be played for a period of 1 year, and then now we focus into your leadership skills. And if your leadership skills are good, then you will have a chance to politic again another year, and you become a leader for another 5 years. So I don't have a problem with politics and how it's played, actually. Politics can go either way. But if you get into that position and you don't have the leadership skills, now I have a problem with you.
Mark, somebody will come and pick you to do strategy.
Oh, for real?
Akusikia.
Amen.
I'm just like,
I mean, may it happen.
Juby World says we have to stop putting all our hopes on political parties. Power belongs to the people, not to the parties. I'm trying to, the more I have these conversations, the more I'm like, but if we also want power, there needs to be political participation. Or maybe there doesn't need to be. I don't know. I'm starting to get the sense that you have to be.
A party is a good vehicle.
Yeah,
a party is a good vehicle.
It mobilizes.
But not the only vehicle. But what other vehicle has enough of that kind of weight to still make your push relevant beyond parties?
Well, you remember history well. There is a gentleman in this country who has a street in this city called Tom Mboya. And he rose into power without a single political party. It was trade unions. He only joined political parties way later. So I agree there are avenues. But as Eric has said, political parties is the most immediate vehicle that you have that you can take to the ground and rally with into an election spectrum. And the beauty of it is this way. You see, there's a saying that if you want to go further, go with people. But if you want to go fast, go alone. Yeah. So you see, you look at the intricacies of politics, the challenges that come around politics, and you look at doing that alone with your resources vis-a-vis doing that with a political party, and you choose a political party because it gives you some backing when you're going through that journey. However, it's not the only thing. We have members of parliament who have run on independent tickets and won. And previously I've given examples like trade unions and systems like that can actually fuel your prominence in an area and give you a political seat. So I agree with the comment from the viewer that we might not really need political parties as much, but the truth on the ground is the way our politics is structured, we do need political parties.
We're about to wind up. We'll come back to you for our final word. But coming up on Your World, cultural pressures versus economic realities of black tax. And the question is, blessing or a burden? We're going to have Winnie and Mwikali hosting that. Mwikali alone, rather, is going to be hosting Your World. That conversation is coming up in just a moment.
Can something be both?
A blessing and a burden.
It's a privilege to be able to help and to uplift others. It can also be an incredibly big burden.
Yes. Especially in that perspective. But yes, a lot of things are a blessing and a curse. And so I don't know whether that just roots you and keeps you grounded because it's a blessing. Even your gift can be a blessing and a curse. So
both ways.
Both ways.
Parting shot, Max. As we go into this voter registration exercise that's starting today, tell young people the importance of finding their nearest IEBC office or going to a Huduma Center in the next week and registering as a voter.
I think, Eric said it when we started, that right now you don't have to actually register in your hometown or wherever you vote. You just go to the nearest station and tell them that you intend to vote at that place where you vote. So it has made it very easy for us youths that are in school or in the city and sometimes want to vote back at home. We have seen what has happened in the country in 2024 and 2025. We came out on the streets and we wanted our voices heard. But the only opportunity that we have to now have our voices heard extensively is if we have that voter card. So if you're a youth and you're listening and you have never voted because perhaps you turned 18 just the other day, or perhaps you've never voted because you don't want to. You might not want to vote previously or even now, but having that voter card, if you change your mind a day to an election, you'll have the power to actually vote. So let's go and have these voter cards as early as now. That would be my statement.
Thank you. Well said.
Give yourself the option.
Yeah, give yourself the option. Thank you to all our other guests as well. A lot of interesting conversations that we've had today. But yes, registration is now ongoing. I'm even seeing people on social media posting, which is good. Some influencers have started to put that picture out there. So it's good. Let's amplify that. Thank you for staying with Fixing the Nation, one conversation at a time. Mariam Bishar, Eric Latif, Janet Bogwa. As we said, we have Your World next on NTV and on NFM, Nation FM. We have Vibe Shift. See you back here tomorrow.